Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 930 for the 2nd of August, 2026. Richard Saunders coming to you from the Skeptic Zone studios here in Sydney, Australia. Always trying to tweak the studios, putting a different microphone in a different spot and moving this bit of the sound baffling or going over here to check that or whatever. Always striving to make the show sound a little bit better. And every now and then, with your help, of course, getting new and slightly better equipment. And when I say your help, those wonderful people who support the show at Patreon or PayPal at skepticzone.tv and my other sponsors who chip in enormously to help keep the show going. And we're going on with the show this week. We start a 3-part series with Maynard and George Hrab. George, the wonderful musician, skeptical musician and podcaster, was out here recently for Noticon with the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe Rogues, and he spent some time at Maynard's International Studios Annex. Oh yes, in Glebe in Sydney. And it was such an interesting interview. It stretched out over 3 episodes. And speaking of Noticon, coming up in the next weeks, we'll hear lots from Maynard and Noticon, many interviews and behind the scenes and all sorts of things. But today, it's George Hrab. After that, it's Woo of the Week. Woo of the Week with Kate Thomas. And Kate will be looking at ginger. Do you like ginger? I love ginger. Ginger beer, ginger ale, pickled ginger at the Japanese restaurant is great. Oh, I do like going to Japanese restaurants. Sushi trains and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, Kate's going to be looking at the myths and reality about using ginger for nausea. Is it true? Can women take ginger to help them with morning sickness, for example? Can I take ginger for seasickness? Find out later with Woo of the Week with Kate Thomas. After Kate, we have Adrian Hill reading the Australian Skeptics newsletter written by our news editor, Dee. Then to round off the show, we go to the TROVE Archives and other archives from around the world to look for digitised reports from newspapers about psychometry. Now, this is an old classic paranormal claim where people will take an object like a set of keys, for example, or a belt buckle or whatever, worn or used by somebody, and the claim is that they can get vibrations, mystical spiritual insights from the object itself, as if the object retains memories of the person who wore it. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work. Nevertheless, it has been reported upon. Now, coming up very soon in the next few weeks, I'm going to be telling you about the other Australian Skeptics Awards, other than the Bent Spoon. Now, we had the Bent Spoon early this year because Noticon was in the middle of the year. Normally, we give the Bent Spoon towards the end of the year. But towards the end of the year, we're going to be giving out several awards from Australian skeptics. The Barry Williams Award for Journalism, the Fred Fournette Award for Skeptical Activism, and possibly the Skeptic of the Year too, and some other awards. And I'll be telling you how you can nominate somebody for those various awards. It's the Good News Awards from the Skeptics. Oh, Japanese food, Japanese pancakes. If you haven't tried Japanese pancakes, I had the best Japanese pancakes. Oh, that was so good. Anyway, thinking about Japanese pancakes and Japanese food, it's time for me to run down those steps and into the kitchen where, sadly, there are no Japanese pancakes, but I might have, let me have a bread roll with some camembert cheese. While I do that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
Well, time to duck and cover under the table now because we've got my favourite Philadelphian, and that would have to be George Hrab. Hi, George.
Hi, Maynard. How are you? Good to see you. My goodness, it's been way too long.
I would never have thought that you would ever be in my flat, in my bedsit as you are now, as we call it, the Maynard International Studios Annex.
Yes, it's a lifelong dream of mine to be sitting on this green, beautiful couch, chatting with you.
Now, look, and I've got about 1,800 boxes of Arnott shapes over there in the shape of Australia, and they're Vegemite flavoured.
Okay.
And I'll be presenting them, you with a box of them when you leave.
Fantastic.
How do you feel about the Vegemite issue at the moment?
I kind of want to stay out of it. I know that like divides families.
It is, yes.
It divides countries. It divides political parties. So I just try to rise above and just stay outside of it.
Yeah, look, it's a bit like the Civil War, brother against brother with the whole Vegemite thing.
Right, but just more yeast-based.
That's
so yeah,
right.
it's which, Lincoln was known for his yeast issues. So
I was speaking to Steve Novella last night, and I'd forgotten he was a super taster. He tastes everything.
you didn't see that first thing?
Well, no, he let it come in about 4 or 5 times in, and I thought, well, how can you drink wine? Because wine has all these complex flavours that would just. He said, all wine's bitter to me. I don't drink alcohol either for the taste reason and probably for neurological reasons as well. And that's one of the first questions I'd like to ask you. You've been to Australia a number of times. You've been around the world. What country is the country that tends to try and offer you the most alcohol?
Oh, the United States. I mean, there's no question. Yeah, there's no question. I think it's a weird understanding. It's gotten better over the years. I mean, when I was younger and not imbibing, there was always this assumption that either I was ill, had some kind of drinking problem, or was insane. And that went away with time, which is it's one of those few indicators of like the world learning that it's okay to not necessarily have to be completely inebriated to enjoy your time or to be an artist or to be a musician or something. So yeah, but the U.S. still has this implied beer quotient, this beer requirement in order to have a good time, especially with sporting events and things like that. There's just always idea of what are you drinking, what are you drinking, what are you drinking. So yeah, I don't get that much here or in Europe as much.
I thought in England they might want to piss on a bit.
A little bit, yeah. I think, but again, I haven't been there in a while. I think the last time I was there was a surprising understanding and non-pressure to sort of have anything alcoholic.
Have you ever been tempted to go, I'm in recovery, or anything like that, just to shut them up?
Early on, there was this sort of idea of like the myth of having, I have a problem. So just to teach someone a lesson, sort of like, don't ask too much or don't push. But yeah, soon after I realized, no, you just say, I'm just not interested. Just not interested.
Look, we have a question from a friend in Orange, and he wrote it on Instagram to me. He wants to know, what's your ideal rider when you're doing a gig? Obviously, you're not interested in alcohol, but what do you get or want, or what would be the ideal rider to have at a show you're doing?
If Tim Tams are available, I mean, obviously that's like, who wouldn't want that? But see, the rider presumes a certain amount of success. Whereas most jobs that I'm doing, I mean, a rider, I just want directions to the gig. That's basically what I'm looking for. My rider should include how to get to the front door. If that's included, I'm a happy camper.
Now, you have done a gig with the Geologic Orchestra. There are a few other musicians. In fact, what's the biggest lot you've worked with? 8 people on stage, is it?
I think the biggest ever, I think I had 10 at one point. So 4 horns and then like a full rhythm section. That was the biggest.
Well, you've got to have a cheese platter for that.
Yeah, the whole dairy thing, I don't know. Before pre-gig, I don't appreciate the mouth feel. I'm one of these weirdos that doesn't eat before playing, because to me it's just, I can't fathom how someone wants to have a full dinner before going on stage for 2 or 3 hours. I just can't fathom that.
Yeah, I was definitely like that. I would never eat till after the gig, even if the gig finished at 10 o'clock.
Absolutely.
Because you maybe a little snack or something, but that's it.
Yeah, give me a good Coke Zero and I'm happy.
That's right, because you're not really into caffeine either, are you?
No, I'll do caffeine. Caffeine. Yeah, coffee is the morning essential meal. That's the morning meal, and but no, the 0-calorie drinks and the more obscure and the worst sort of tasting, the more I enjoy them. So if I can find some gas station in Kentucky that makes its own diet soda, I am fully invested. Gramps Gas Diet Cola, I am there 100%.
Look, American gas stations, you've got this amazing world of wonderful drugs there that I've never even heard of at the moment that you can get at gas stations in the US.
Yeah, I mean, rhino horn-based things that will not only not do what they're prescribed to do, but will make your heart explode at the same time. So it's kind of fantastic.
Yes, they're completely unregulated, so they might have MDMA, but they'll have too much.
Right, or fiberglass. Whatever you're into, no judging.
And you get the Geologic Podcast every week, where we hear about Geo's week to a certain extent, and other things that have happened about him, bits of philosophy, skepticism, all sorts of things. What's the short description of your show to someone who hasn't heard it?
It's a show about me thinking about things that I like to think about. I mean, whether it's music, whether it's science, whether it's comedy, whether it's Australian friends I have with pink couches, it's all those things sort of encapsulated. It's basically just me spouting what's on my mind at the time.
Now, what's the thing that you casually said on the show that got the most mail or the biggest reaction that you didn't expect? Like you might have made a mistake with the pronunciation. People often jump on that for no reason, or you made a alleged obvious fact wrong. Can you think back?
Yeah, I don't know of a specific example, but my audience tends to be...
Pedants?
I don't want to say pedants. I don't want to necessarily. They're detail based, shall we say, and they like to share when details are incorrect, and I respect it completely. Sometimes the details that are chosen to be highlighted surprise me. That maybe I was talking about a lead pencil, which was not a lead pencil. It was actually a number 2 pencil without lead, which had graphite. Not necessarily relevant to the story I'm telling. It tends to be incidental details that get corrected, which I understand and I've grown to be okay with, and try to keep breathing and try to sit down as necessary, put my head between my legs, and then just not fire off an email response.
Yes, you take a breath. Like it's good social media etiquette. Don't react immediately because it's usually not the right one.
Correct. Yeah, take a second. Don't throw the chair through the window. Don't attack the mailman. Just take a second and maybe respond with, "Thank you for your observation. You are absolutely right. It was not a bovine horn. It was actually a goat horn, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Thanks for listening, and I hope you keep listening despite my factual inaccuracies."
There was once an Australian journalist, and he said whenever he got complaints, he would just write back, "Thank you for your letter. You may well be right."
Mm-hmm. I think admitting and just saying, "I appreciate your listening," because I do appreciate their listening. I'd much rather you listen and be slightly pedantic than not listen.
Look, you do talk about pencils, but you talk about pens a lot, particularly pens that don't work, that are on your table in front of you. It's come up multiple times in podcasts. Ever since COVID was the first time I noticed you mentioned it. You're saying, "Look, looking for something to do, check your pen to see if it works." And only a couple of weeks ago you were thinking about the state of the world and, thinking how many pens in that pen holder actually work. Where's all this coming from, George? Were you doing an exam once and there was a terrible pen failure?
That's a good question. Well, I oddly enough, I'm naturally right-handed. So any activity I do is right-handed, whether it's drumming, whether it's playing tennis, whether it's whatever. But I write left-handed, which is, for whatever reason, I'm not quite sure why that sort of happened. So there has been this appreciation of the left-handed smudgery that occurs with pen writing. So you sort of, because as your hand goes across the page, you tend to smudge the ink. So there's always been this concern about, is the pen that I'm using going to, how much will it smudge? And can I minimize the smudgery of it? So maybe that's where it comes from, this left-right discrepancy that I have between my writing and performing and athleticizing. Maybe that's it.
When was the last time you actually bought a pen? I can't remember to myself the last time. I think in Melbourne at the Skeptics Conference I won a dozen pens. I'm still using them, and that was 4 years ago.
Every trip I always get a new fresh set of Sharpies. If I'm going to a conference, I'm going somewhere, I like to have brand new Sharpies, at least 3 black and then a green and a red, so I can do notes. Wow. And they're usually $4 there at Staples. And every time I go to a conference or here I have a brand new pack I put together, because you just got to have them for signing things or making notes or whatever. Yeah.
Look, I've got some questions for the other skeptics, which I'll be asking SGU. I was going to ask Cara about her experience as an ex-Texas US cheerleader, which means she probably has no functional joints in her body that haven't got arthritis in them already.
Yeah, the knees are pretty much shot.
Yeah. How are you going? Because you go pretty hard on the exercises yourself. You got all the spongy bits in the right place? The knee joint? Or?
The spongy bits. The spongy bits seem to be okay. I mean, I'm getting older, and I can't quite exercise with the vehemence I maybe did 20 years ago, but I think I'm doing okay. And you modify. That's the thing, I think that's the lesson of life. Keep doing the stuff you like, but you modify. You go a little bit easier, or maybe not quite as using flexibility as much as you relied on before, or things like that. So yeah, I'm doing okay.
You're inspiring to people who want to exercise, because you'll be casually talking on the show. Look, I'm going up and down 120,000 flights of stairs, and I just move 129 to and then 120, and it's like, well, what? And you're thinking about, what is this guy writing like a rock opera or something while he's doing this? It's just amazing that you get all that done and you can still think about stuff. Because I'd be going, yeah, I mean, it must get. Come on, how many flights of stairs do you do in a go?
I mean, it's 6 flights. You do it 10 times, so do the math, whatever that may be. But to me, if you can take your brain away whilst working out, that's the benefit. So you do something that you can sort of think about other stuff and fool yourself into not being in quite the pain that you are. So it's, yeah.
You get a 2-for-1 kind of.
Oh, absolutely.
You get creative stuff and you get the exercise stuff.
I've said this before, my most creative things pop into my brain when I am under the most kind of physical duress and stress.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
With all the weird, wacky woo that's worth watching, it's Woo of the Week with Kate Thomas.
Have you ever felt nauseated and had somebody immediately offer you ginger tea, biscuits, ginger ale, ginger chews, or perhaps a slightly dusty capsule from the back of the supplement cupboard? Ginger has become one of those remedies that sits in a slightly confusing space. It sounds like traditional medicine, it is heavily promoted by wellness influencers, and it comes with claims ranging from it might settle your stomach all the way through to ginger detoxifies your body, boosts your immunity, and treats cancer. So is ginger for nausea evidence-based medicine, or is it woo? Interestingly, it's a little bit of both. I'm Kate, I'm a pharmacist with 25 years experience, and today we are separating what ginger might genuinely do from what people merely wish it could do. First, what is ginger? Ginger comes from the underground stem or rhizome of the plant Gingiber officinale, and it contains several biologically active compounds, particularly gingerols and shogalls. Fresh ginger contains more gingerols. When ginger is dried, heated, or stored, some of those gingerols are converted into shogalls. These compounds do appear to have genuine pharmacological effects. So this is not homeopathy. It's not an infinitely diluted substance containing no active ingredient, and it's not someone waving a crystal over your abdomen. Ginger contains chemicals that can interact with the human body. The real question is whether those effects are large enough, consistent enough, and clinically useful enough to make a meaningful difference. How might ginger reduce nausea? Well, nausea is not controlled by one single nausea switch. It involves communication between your brain, your stomach, your intestines, your balance system, and several different chemical messengers. And one of those chemical messengers is serotonin. Serotonin is often described as a brain chemical, but a very large amount of the body's serotonin is actually associated with the gastrointestinal tract. When the stomach or intestines are irritated, serotonin can activate receptors called the 5-HT3 receptors. Those receptors help send signals through nerves, including the vagus nerve, towards the vomiting center in the brain. And your brain interprets those signals as something's wrong down there. That can contribute to nausea and vomiting. Gingerols and shogalls appear to affect several pathways involved in nausea, including activity around 5-HT3 receptors. Laboratory research also suggests that ginger may influence stomach contractions and gastric emptying, although we should be cautious about turning lab findings into claims about how well it works in actual people. You may have heard ondansetron, a prescription anti-nausea medicine, also works by blocking the 5-HT3 receptor. But that does not mean ginger is Nietzsche's ondansetron. Water and morphine can both interact with the nervous system. That does not make them interchangeable. Two substances can affect a similar pathway whilst having completely different potency, predictability, dosing, and clinical effects. So ginger has a plausible mechanism, but a plausible mechanism is only the beginning. We still need trials showing that people actually feel less nauseated when they take it. Where is the strongest evidence? The most consistent evidence is for mild to moderate nausea and vomiting during pregnancy, often called morning sickness, although as anyone who has experienced it knows, it can occur at any time of the day. Multiple reviews have found that ginger may produce a modest reduction in nausea during early pregnancy. It appears less consistently effective for actually stopping vomiting, and the studies vary considerably in their quality, dose, and formulation. So the conclusion is not ginger cures morning sickness. It's closer to ginger may modestly reduce nausea for some pregnant people. A recent review of reviews reached a similar conclusion. Most analysis suggested some benefit for pregnancy-related nausea, but the overall quality of the evidence ranged from low to critically low because the underlying studies were small and inconsistent, and that distinction matters. A statistically measurable improvement does not necessarily mean the nausea completely disappears. Ginger may take the edge off. It may make symptoms more manageable. But it is not a replacement for medical care when someone is unable to keep down fluids, is losing weight, is becoming dehydrated, or may have hyperemesis. Severe vomiting during pregnancy is not a wellness problem to be treated with ginger tea and positive thinking. It can require prescription medicines, intravenous fluids, and hospital treatment. Well, what about chemotherapy-related nausea? And this is where social media claims can become particularly irresponsible. Ginger has been studied as an addition to standard anti-nausea medicines for people receiving chemotherapy. Some trials and reviews suggest that it may reduce certain aspects of chemotherapy-related nausea or acute vomiting. Others have found little or no meaningful benefit. One meta-analysis found a possible reduction in acute vomiting with doses of no more than 1 gram per day, but it did not confirm a constant effect on nausea or delayed vomiting. Another systematic review found no clear association with chemotherapy-induced nausea overall. A more recent trial found that standardized ginger used alongside anti-nausea medication was safe and may have improved quality of life, but the researchers still called for further work to determine whether there is a reliable dose-dependent effect. So ginger may be a reasonable adjunct for some patients after discussion with their cancer team, but it must never be presented as an alternative to prescribed antiemetics. What about nausea after surgery? There is some evidence that ginger might reduce the severity of post-operative nausea. However, studies have not consistently shown that it prevents vomiting or reduces the need for rescue anti-nausea medicine. So again, there may be a small signal of benefit, but it's not reliable enough to replace the medicines used by anaesthetists or surgical teams. And motion sickness? This is one of the most common ginger claims. People buy ginger tablets before cruises, car trips, flights because they've heard that ginger prevents motion sickness. But most controlled studies have not found convincing evidence that it works reliably for motion sickness. The United States National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health specifically notes that most studies have not shown benefit. So that doesn't mean that nobody has ever felt better after taking ginger. Nausea naturally rises and falls. Expectations can influence symptoms. Eating or drinking something can help. But personal experience cannot tell us whether ginger consistently prevents motion sickness better than placebo. For someone who has become severely seasick, evidence-based medicines and practical measures remain more dependable. Does the type of ginger matter? Absolutely. This is where we run into one of the biggest problems with supplement claims. Trials generally used measured amounts of ginger powder, standardized extracts, or specifically prepared products. That does not mean every ginger-flavored product delivers the same dose. A ginger biscuit may contain very little ginger and quite a lot of sugar. A ginger lolly might be mostly glucose syrup and flavouring. And ginger ale may contain minimal actual ginger or sometimes merely ginger flavour. So saying studies show ginger helps nausea, therefore this glass of ginger ale is medicinal, is a considerable leap. It's like saying coffee contains caffeine, therefore a coffee-flavoured milk bottle must produce the same effect as a double espresso. Perhaps it contains enough, perhaps it doesn't. Unless the ginger content is stated, we simply just don't know. Tea made with fresh ginger may contain active compounds, but the dose depends on how much ginger you use, how finely you cut it, and how long you steep it, and how much of it you drink. So that doesn't make tea useless, it just makes it difficult to compare with a clinical trial. What dose has been studied? There is no single universally proven anti-nausea dose. Many pregnancy studies have used roughly 1 gram of dried ginger per day, often divided into several doses. Across nausea studies, doses commonly range from around 500 milligrams to 1.5 grams per day, although different extracts are not necessarily directly comparable. More is not automatically better. Higher doses are more likely to cause heartburn, reflux, abdominal discomfort, or diarrhea. And remember, a gram of dried ginger powder is not necessarily equivalent to a gram of fresh ginger or a gram of concentrated extract. The label needs to tell you what is actually in the product. So is ginger safe? As a food, ginger is generally well tolerated. As supplement doses, common adverse effects include heartburn, reflux, stomach irritation, burping, and diarrhea. There are also theoretical and laboratory concerns that larger doses may affect platelet function, blood glucose, or blood pressure. The clinical importance of these effects is not entirely clear, but it is still sensible to check with a pharmacist or doctor before using concentrated ginger supplements if you take anticoagulants or antiplatelet medicines, have a bleeding disorder, or are about to have surgery, or use medicines that lower blood glucose. This does not mean that a slice of ginger in your stir fry is dangerously thinning your blood. Food quantities and concentrated supplement doses are different situations. So the final verdict: ginger is not nonsense. It contains active compounds. It has biologically plausible effects. And clinical research suggests it may produce a modest reduction in some types of nausea, particularly mild pregnancy-related nausea. It may also have a role as an addition to standard treatment in some cases of chemotherapy-related or post-operative nausea, although the evidence is inconsistent. But ginger is not a universal anti-nausea medicine. It has not been convincingly shown to prevent motion sickness. It is not guaranteed to stop vomiting. Ginger ale is not automatically an evidence-based treatment simply because the label says ginger, and ginger absolutely does not detoxify the body, cure cancer, or replace necessary medical care. So here is the simplest way to separate the science from the woo. Ginger may modestly help some types of nausea, is evidence-based. Ginger cures the underlying illness because it is natural, is woo. Natural substances can contain real medicines, and they can also cause side effects. They can interact with other treatments, and sometimes they just simply don't work. Ginger deserves neither blind worship nor automatic dismissal. It deserves exactly what every health treatment deserves: a fair look at the evidence, and in this case, the evidence says it might help, just don't expect miracles from a biscuit. Follow me on social media at Prescribe or Pass, or go to www.medicationclarity.com.au and book an appointment with me. And I'll see you next time on Woo of the Week. Bye-bye. It can't just be me, but something serious is happening to my body. On the Moans is a new podcast from me, Kate Thomas, a pharmacist of 25 years and a newly minted perimenopausal oversharer. I pull back the curtains on perimenopause, hormones, rage-quitting jobs, disappearing libido, bone health, and the quiet suffering so many women carry alone. From estrogen quitting her full-time job with no notice and taking all of the neurotransmitters with her, to a friend breaking down in the kitchen whispering, "I thought it was just me." On the Moans is honest, evidence-based, funny, messy, and deeply human. And it's not just for women. Loads of men are wondering why their partner has gone from being reasonably well put together to now crying because she can't remember why she entered a room. We are not broken. It's not our fault. And we're definitely not alone in this. Join me for On the Moans, available now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or via the link on the Skeptic Zone homepage.
Hello everyone, this is Adrienne Hill, here in Skookum Studios in Calgary, Canada. And I'm going to read the highlights from the Australian Skeptics newsletter. This is newsletter number 252. And don't forget, you can sign up to this newsletter at skeptics.com.au and get all the links for each story every other week right into your inbox. The full newsletter has information about events, even more stories and more items of interest, so we encourage you to subscribe. But now, let's see what our news editor, Dee, has for us this time. Hi all, says Dee. We teamed up with the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe to bring Sydney Nauticon, an incredibly entertaining skeptical convention full of thought-provoking talks and fun activities featuring audience participation. Presenting with the SGU Ensemble were local guests such as Dr. Karl Kruszelnicki, who stole the show, not surprisingly, and Richard Saunders, together with Jessica Singer, presenting the Bent Spoon Award. Add to that the visiting skeptical minds of George Hrab and Brian Wecht. Regardless of what corner of skepticism you fall into, there was something for everyone to enjoy. We personally would like to thank the SGU team for lending themselves to performing for us for a rousing weekend. In the meantime, read on. D. Okay, D, I'll do just that. The Bent Spoon Award for 2026. This year, Australian Skeptics was inundated with nominations for our annual Bent Spoon Award for the most preposterous piece of paranormal or pseudoscientific piffle, the shonkies of the supernatural, given each year to a person, group, or product that makes claims that fly in the face of science, reason, logic, and common sense. And the winner is, or shall I say, the worst of the worst? Drum roll, please. Dolly Adamson of Kyneton Paranormal, Victoria, who claims to talk to the ghosts of murdered children, and even worse, their killers via a radio, aka a spirit box. Sometimes she even talks to dead people who aren't dead. You can read more about Dolly and the history of the bent spoon on our website at www.skeptics.com.au. So-called long-hidden UFO info is at the center of a Trump push to free former officials. Former employees can now share UFO information without fear of violating agreements. There goes the, quote, I can't tell you because I'm sworn to secrecy, end quote, defense. A new study proves there's no evidence mobile phones cause brain cancer. A new study released earlier this month has analyzed 13 reviews commissioned by the World Health Organization, or WHO, on the health effects of electromagnetic waves. It's found no evidence that electromagnetic waves emitted by mobile phones cause cancer in the brain, neck, or head. So much for all those useless phone patches sold over the years. Companies are using generative AI to create ghost avatars of dead relatives. A number of artificial intelligence startups now offer a service of creating a lifelike avatar of a relative or friend who is deceased. Quote, it is definitely a growing sector. We are seeing growth in interest in how AI and grief intertwine, end quote, says Jack Manning, doctorate candidate student of AI at the University of Colorado. Generative ghosts share some commonalities with so-called deep fakes, which can be designed to mislead the public by fabricating a public figure's speech and actions. Fort Lauderdale police hire a psychic consultant in the 2017 disappearance of a teen. A psychic was paid by Fort Lauderdale police to consult in the disappearance of Sophie Reeder, who left her home in 2017. It was reported earlier this month that the Fort Lauderdale Police Department is working with, quote, psychic profiler and medium, end quote, Alejandra Taborn on Sophie's case. Taborn was paid a $1,500 fee for a 90-day consultancy. Quote, I'll take what we can get, end quote. Australian astronomers' UFO funding call. A leading astronomer says he would settle for UFO research funding if it meant the Australian government would take space research seriously. Maybe not a bad idea. Quote, at least if you're tracking UFOs, you're also tracking space junk. That's situational space awareness, end quote. Oh, that's good. That's clever. U.S. talk show host Dr. Phil speaks on White House document review indicating a, quote, UFO cover-up, end quote. TV celebrity psychologist and no doubt science thought leader Dr. Phil claims the files he has seen reveal a sprawling government cover-up about UFOs. Quote, I think the reason they're giving me access to this is because they want me doing exactly what I'm doing, end quote. He told the program Reality Check. Quote, I have maintained independence in what I'm doing. They're not scripting me. They're not telling me what to say and not say, end quote. See how that turns out. Antarctic guides quit their dream jobs. Antarctic tourism is growing fast, with over 120,000 visits in the 2025 to 2026 season. A study reveals how Antarctic tour guides grapple with the dilemma at the heart of their work, bringing more and more people to an ecologically vulnerable area and helping cause some of the greatest CO2 emissions of any form of tourism. Quote, you'd see massive glacier calvings, and you'd just want to cry. But all the guests would be cheering, and you'd be like, can you not put two and two together? End quote. Primary school kids are taught to detect fake news. Can you? South Australian primary school students will soon learn how to spot deepfakes, scams, and online misinformation. Most adults have never been taught how to spot it, but it is becoming increasingly important to be more discerning about the information we see on the internet. Items of interest. Celebrated creatures. Modern-day cryptid becomes internet celebrity. The United States has its own compendium of local cryptids that rivals the mythological bestiaries of thousands of years. Today, though, what might have become a cryptid in its own right receives internet stardom overnight. Silly story of the week. Russian psychics offer witchcraft to help motorists cut fuel consumption. Some Russian psychics and self-proclaimed clairvoyants are reportedly offering paid so-called witchcraft services that claim to reduce a vehicle's fuel consumption. Novel, but not exactly heavy with the details. Just 2 paragraphs. That's all that's needed. Travel tips. Thwaite Mill in Leeds to host ghost tours. Despite the altruistic and preservationist intentions to save a historic mill from dereliction, this ghost seems rather tepid by comparison. I wouldn't have gotten my money's worth with a few door slamming and some flickering lights. Well, that's all for this week. To wrap it up, I thought I would let you know about a report I discovered about Canadian UFO sightings in 2025. According to globalnews.ca, in an article by Adriana Falico titled, quote, "Reports of UFO sightings in Canada jumped last year. What's going on?" End quote. Falico discusses how in the 2025 edition of the Canadian UFO Survey, something I didn't know existed until now, that the number of UFO sightings is the highest it has been since 2020. I wonder why there were more that year, when there were 1,243 sightings. In 2025, there were 1,052 sightings, up from 2024 with 1,008. Not too much of a difference. However, in 2023, there were only 570. The good thing about this article is that they do say that most of the cases have simple or easily explained solutions, such as the sightings being airplanes, satellites, planets, and so on. An interesting point was that while the country reported more UFOs, Alberta and British Columbia had fewer sightings than the previous years. I'm surmising that maybe Bigfoot eats them for dinner? That got to be the only explanation. Until next time, this is Adrienne Hill from Skookum Studios in Calgary, Canada.
Time once again to go back to those digital archives, no matter where they are from around the world. The archives of newspapers, magazines, gazettes, periodicals, journals, menus, I don't know what, all sorts of things digitized for our convenience and our education. And this week, we're going to be looking up a great old-fashioned psychic term, one of the, what would you call it? The mainstays of the psychic business, psychometry. What is psychometry? Well, I'm glad you asked. Psychometry is the supposed ability of people to handle a personal object, once belonging to somebody or currently belonging to somebody, and gleaning insights via vibrations, spiritual energy, auras, mysticism, the spirits, who knows what, and impart that knowledge. In other words, if somebody held a set of keys belonging to somebody, they could sense the characteristics of that person or life events or whatever they claim. That's the idea, and whenever this has been tested, of course, it fails every time, because as we widely suspect, there's nothing to it. It doesn't work. Put simply, psychometry is not a thing and doesn't work. But that doesn't stop people claiming the ability. And I will link to this in this week's show notes. There is a great episode of James Randi, Psychic Investigator from 1991 in the UK, where he tests the claims of somebody who practices psychometry. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work then either. Nevertheless, let's run over to Google newspapers this time, and we'll start our review here on the Kingsmen Daily Miner, dated the 23rd of February, 1979. A story by Lee Hanlon, Psychic Reads People's Futures. A Kingsman woman said to be able to glimpse the future or past by simply holding a person's watch or ring in her hands doesn't think she's doing anything particularly unusual. Sandy, as she wants to be known, practices psychometry, a psychic art that extracts information about people and events from personal objects. With training, anyone can do it, Sandy said. Her own awareness of having this ability came during childhood. "My mother was a clairvoyant," Sandy said, adding that she grew up without, as many people do, suppressing her talent. Later, when their son had a number of psychic experiences fortune-telling the death of a friend, Sandy and her husband began in-depth investigation of such phenomena. Their search led them to become involved with a Sacramento, California church, the Pyramid Church of Truth and Light. Sandy and her husband, himself a psychic, also conducted classes in what they've learned and did volunteer work with local youth groups. Sandy is quick to point out, however, that the realm of the psychic isn't necessarily the playground of the devil. Psychometry is described in chapter 12 of Corinthians 2 in the Holy Bible, she said, and treated as a wholesome pursuit. Her readings of persons are accurate about 85% of the time, Sandy said. A typical reading lasts anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour or more. All that Sandy wants is the individual's first name and a personal object such as a watch or a ring. Metallic objects seem to work best for her, she said. Sandy said she's had several clients who are reader hoppers, persons who drift from one psychic to another, having their fates described. They may be seeking more answers to what life holds in store, or running comparison checks on psychics they've visited. "If they've been to someone else," said Sandy, "there's no reason to come to me." Sandy added that after 4 or 5 visits she feels a nagging, subconscious desire to tell people what they want to hear. For this reason, she prefers to do readings for total strangers. She cannot do readings for herself or her husband, Sandy added. And even among her clients, she finds she must forget what she's seen during her psychometry sessions. Still, Sandy admits, "Some people are unhappy that I don't tell them what they want to hear." As a rule, she won't tell people of impending deaths in the family. Sandy has several reasons for this rule. Sandy points to her 85% accuracy rate. "What if that reading was in the 15% that were wrong?" she asks. And, she noted, "Nobody is God, and nobody has the right to say when somebody is going to die." Beyond individual consultations, police often seek out psychics to help solve baffling criminal cases. Aside from widely publicized crimes such as the Boston Strangler, however, law enforcement agencies don't like to admit they consult psychics, Sandy said. In her own history as a psychic, Sandy has been involved in several cases involving violent death. Once in her search for a lost boy, she saw the child in a vehicle she described as not being a car and not travelling anywhere. The child was later found shot to death in a camper. Most of her work these days, I'll just stop here and say, really? This is another case of the reporter simply writing down all the claims and relaying them as if they were fact. We read on. Most of her work these days involves individuals seeking lost objects, the future, or themselves. Often the psychic sessions become counselling sessions, Sandy said, since the people she sees are troubled in some manner. Asked if her readings could influence her clients into conforming their lives to her predictions, accurate or not, in a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, Sandy replied that it depends on how susceptible you are to suggestion. She said that in her opinion, life is not predestined. You have free will, Sandy said. That's why you have a mind and can use it for good or evil. There are persons, however, who cannot be read by her psychometry talents. One woman was a trance psychic and unreachable for that reason. Another man didn't have any future, said Sandy. He was ready to die. And the accompanying photograph, which is very hard to make out, appears to be the upper arms and hands of Sandy. And the caption reads, Sandy, as she likes to be known, says all she needs to read a person's future is the individual's first name, a personal object such as a watch or a ring. Photograph by Lee Hanlon. The thing that this article teaches us more than anything else is that newspaper reporters need to fill up column inches and won't do any investigating. They'll simply report on what in this case, the psychic tells them, as in helping police and being 85% accurate and so on. Simply no time for in-depth investigation. And now let's travel to the year 1993 on the 7th of August in the Williamson Daily News. Williamson Daily News in the heart of the billion-dollar coalfield, Williamson, West Virginia. A story by George Hrab, and this was syndicated. I've seen this repeated on the same date in various newspapers. What is the point of prophecies? Being more rational than mystic, I was a little dubious about the psychometrist who was giving a demonstration for a Sunday school class. Psychometry is the divination of facts concerning an object or its owner through contact with the object itself. For instance, the psychometrist will hold your pen in his hand and be able to tell you something about yourself. The theory is that we all have our psychic vibrations on the things we own and handle. To someone like a psychometrist, who is supposedly sensitive to such things, these vibrations, it is said, can reveal information about us. What bothered me about the psychometrist speaking to the Sunday school class was that he told the students only about their futures. There was no way to know at that point whether these things would turn out to be true. Of course, if he had said to one of the young people, "You were born in Alaska," or "Your mother's maiden name was Wilson," those things could be verified, but he didn't do that. When I mentioned this in an article I wrote the next day, one of my readers wrote back. He asked, "Did I sense some skepticism on your part because there was no way to check on whether the prophecies the psychometrist made to the students would come true?" The writer said he happened to know that this particular psychometrist once read for an 82-year-old artist. He told her she would marry and go to Portugal. She dismissed the whole thing as crazy. Then, the reader wrote, she met another elderly artist and married him. And guess where they went? Portugal. He then went on to relate an experience of his own with the psychometrist. She said she saw me surrounded by a bunch of bright and shiny cars. She said I was going to get one of them. 7 months later, I won an automobile as a prize and had my picture taken in the showroom surrounded by a bunch of new cars. A couple of years before that, he said he sat for a reading by the Reverend Arthur Ford, the famous medium. He asked me to write something, anything, on a piece of paper, and hold it folded up in my hand. I wrote 3 words, mother, brother, and sister. The name Anna comes to me, he said. That was my mother's name. Then he said, I get an H. Is it Harry? I said, no. Is it Henry? I said it was. That was my brother's name. Then Ford grabbed his left leg just above the knee. I feel an intense pain there. He said my brother Henry had been injured in a motorcycle accident. His left leg had been amputated just above the knee. Then he said, I get a sense of grace. That was the name of my sister who died at the age of 8. So claimed the reader who wrote to me. Actually, what I did find interesting about the psychometrist who spoke to the Sunday school class was his theory that there is nothing final or absolute about prophecies. A prophecy merely says that this will happen if you continue on your present course. That, he maintained, was the purpose of Old Testament prophecies, to give people a chance to change their ways before it was too late. After telling Jonah to prophesy that the city of Nineveh would be destroyed, God changed his mind. Quote, when the people turned from their evil way, end quote. Well, there we are, a couple of examples of psychometry in the history of newspapers. These newspapers from the United States. And again, I think the most important lesson this tells us is that people write newspaper reports to fill up column inches. They report on things and don't necessarily do any critical investigation. All the claims being put forward aren't challenged. But that takes time. But you can take time when perusing the pages of online newspapers at Trove. That's trove.nla.gov.au, or Google Newspapers in this case, or I'm sure in your particular country you'll find online digitised newspapers, because when you go there, well, as I've discovered over the years, you never know what you might find. Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Coming up on next week's episode, part 2 of Maynard's interview of George Hrab. And I think we're going to have to start to sneak in lots more interviews and behind the scenes from Noticon with Maynard as well, because there's so much to get through. He did so many interviews. He always does. And in the Trove Archives next week, we're going to be starting a series looking at newspaper references to past Bent Spoon winners. What did the press have to say year after year, decade after decade, when the Bent Spoon winner was announced? Sometimes the press ignored it, sometimes there was lots of coverage. I'm very pleased to say that this year, for Dolly Adamson and her ridiculous claims of speaking to dead children, the press take-up has been very good. I've done 3 or 4 radio interviews and it's been mentioned in the press, so that's good. But for this week, this is Richard Saunders signing off from the Skeptic Zone studios here in Sydney, Australia.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for episodes and show notes with links going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone on Facebook, X, TikTok and YouTube by clicking the links at our homepage, together with links to support the show financially via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily those of the Skeptic Zone podcast or any other skeptical organisation.
I can't believe you can't.
Well, as I've always said, Adrian, if it works, don't fix it. Anyway, here we are. I'm speaking to Adrian in Canada via a weird system of headsets and holding a microphone nearby and I don't know what. Anyway, we're going to play the dice game. And since I've got...
We're interrupting a game of golf.
Yeah. One hand on the recorder to hold it and one hand on the dice, so I can't write anything down, but that's all right. I'm sure the Skeptic Zone audience will remember. It's a D6. And by the way, Adrian in Canada, through her headset, is seeing exactly what I'm seeing, so you can see the dice, right?
I can, so I can tell whether or not he's cheating.
Well, I'm going to choose 1 for the first roll.
I'm going to choose a 6.
Okay.
And Susan will choose a 5.
That's taken as read. I think. Here we go.
It's a 2.
It's a 2. Oh, well. Second roll, I'm going to choose 3.
I'm going to choose 4.
Okay, and Susan will choose 5.
That's right. It's a 6.
6.
I should have kept my 6.
All right, third roll, I'm going to choose 3 for 3.
Ooh, good things do happen in 3, so I'm going to choose a 1.
Okay, here it comes. Oh,
it's a 2.
It's a 2. What's going on?
I know, I think it's a loaded die.
Okay, for the supplementary, I'm going to choose 5.
I'm going to choose 2.
Okay, here it comes. 3.
3.
Oh, okay. For the supplementary, I'm going to use a D20.
Ooh, a bonus.
Yes, a bonus.
I'm going to pick the number 13.
Ooh, I'm going to pick the number 18. Here we go.
I can't quite see that. What is it? 5.
It's a
Susan
5.
Perfect 5.
How do you like that? Well, I didn't write down the winning numbers, but the last one was 5.
Yes. I think it was 26235.
Well done.
But I'm not sure. You'll have to listen to the recording, see how good my memory is.